Welcome everyone to the webinar today sponsored by NAIFA's Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Council. Today we've got a great speaker with you. Chris Jordan has over 20 years experience in the financial services industry. His work with advisors around the country sparked a desire to see the industry elevated to a higher level. Chris saw firsthand the many challenges advisors face related to growing their business and serving their clients. As a result, Chris developed a passion to share these best practices with all advisors so they could have a little better experience in their profession. A little bit about Chris. He has a business management degree from Georgetown University's McDonough School of Business. He actually, while at Georgetown, was a 4-year letter winner on the varsity football team. After graduation, Chris started his career in New York with some of the largest firms on Wall Street, including Citigroup and BlackRock, where he began working with After graduation, Chris started his career in New York with some of the largest firms on Wall Street, including Citigroup and BlackRock, where he began working with and training financial advisors. In 2011, he moved to Raleigh to work with Hatteras Funds, a boutique hedge fund and private equity firm. Soon after, Chris worked as a regional VP with Foresters Financial, where in 2016, he was #1 in sales. During his career, Chris developed a passion to empower financial advisors so they could deliver the best quality service to their clients. Chris is married and has 3 children. He and his family reside in Raleigh, North Carolina. So Chris, without any further ado, let me turn it over to you and welcome our attendees.
Sounds great. Hello, everyone. This is Chris here. Just totally excited to be here, and just so thankful to Emily and even Delvin to have me present and share some time with you. I'll tell you one of the biggest things that that you have is your time. I mean, I think for most part, I don't know that anyone paid to get on this call today. But money is something that can always be replaced. But time is something that you can't get back. So I'm honored that you're here on this call. You're actually taking some of your time during your day to attend this session put on by NAIFA, and really with the goal to elevate your business and really to work on yourself and just add value. So my whole goal here today is to add the most value. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen here in a minute. We'll get started. But what I would say is, feel free to, take screenshots. If hopefully Emily, that's okay. If you take screenshots, and I'll definitely welcome any posts later on LinkedIn, or if you want to connect with me on social media, that's awesome. If you like what I'm going to say, if you don't like what I'm going to say, and you don't think I do a good job today, just blame Delvin Joyce for having me come talk, and just forget everything that I say. No, I'm just kidding. All jokes aside, but I'm going to go ahead and share the screen, and we'll get right into it. Hopefully, everyone can see that, okay? And feel free to respond in the chat. We're gonna open this up to, if there's anyone on the call that would like to kind of come live on stage with me. No pressure. You're welcome to do that. Just send it in the chat, and Emily can make that happen for you. But feel free to use the chat as a means to communicate, and we want to keep this very interactive. I'm going to ask you questions, throughout the presentation, but feel free to use that as a medium to get on and get questions answered. We're going to have questions kind of throughout. Feel free to comment and then ask questions during it. But then also we'll save some time, if time permitting, to answer some of the questions at the end. So, but really excited. We're going to talk about elevating your business. Specifically, and give you some of the fundamentals to developing profitable COI partnerships. So with that said, I want to ask the first question. The question, do you get consistent referrals from CPAs and attorneys? Just simply yes or no. You can put it in the chat, yes or no. Do you get consistent referrals from CPAs and attorneys? And, I ask that question because in our experience, I'll get into my background here shortly, but in our experience, the majority of financial advisors, financial advice professionals, whether they're have an insurance background, or if they're in the wirehouses or banks, they don't tend to get consistent referrals, especially from CPAs. this topic, can be kind of challenging. So just, a quick yes or no in the chat. Love to kind of hear your responses. Okay. Well, let's kind of just jump right into it. So why is this topic important to you, right? Why is partnering with CPAs, attorneys, centers of influence to elevate your business? Why is this topic of learning how to develop these partnerships so important to you? First off, prospecting can be challenging, right? We all know that prospecting, trying to build your business, growing your client base, especially over the last couple of years, or really year and a half with COVID, prospecting has its own challenges. The traditional methods are becoming more and more, I guess, less effective than they were in decades past, and I'll get into some of that later. But today I want you to think of, we're going to talk about prospecting, CPAs, attorneys, and I really want you to think differently about the word prospecting, especially when it comes to prospecting CPAs. I want you to think in terms of partnership, by the way. So this is going to be more about partnership. So if I can get one change of your thought process early on in this time we're spending with each other today, is to change your mentality from a prospecting mentality to a partnership when it comes to centers of influence. Also, developing the skills and language, right? If the advisors that learn how to partner with CPAs, attorneys, they have certain skills, they have certain language that they've developed. And this is a matter of, once they've developed that skill, they can just simply repeat that process and continue to grow their COI networks, continue to get referrals, get businesses that grow on their own, in a sense. So it's important because you can actually, by choosing to learn this topic today, and we're going to give you a little bit of information today in this time, but developing these skills and language can really open the door in terms of elevating your business when it comes to getting referrals and growing your business with centers of influence. This is a gentleman by the name of Roger Silvera. I don't know if anyone of y'all on the call know Roger. But nonetheless, he's a New York Life agent. He's based out of Tampa, Florida. But nonetheless, he's one of our clients. He has developed the skills, but more so the language, and he talks about developing the language of partnering with CPAs. And I actually had a chance to hear Roger on a call with a CPA. And when I tell you the language that he uses about my practice, thinking in terms of family office, and the things that he says, the words that he uses when he connects with CPAs, it just makes his presence much more powerful. He's much more successful in developing a CPA network. He has tons of success working with CPAs and attorneys. So this topic is important because you'll develop the skills and language to actually approach the CPA. Now, let me pause for a moment. I hear a lot of times advisors, they talk about meeting with CPAs or meeting with attorneys, or they haven't met any attorneys or any CPAs, but they haven't actually taken the time to learn some of the skills, right? What we found is that this topic, although a lot of firms offer resources on this topic, what we found is that the skills and the languages it's not taught worldwide, right? In fact, we're teaching this topic now at the university level in the financial planning program for master's and undergrad students. And what we found there is that it's definitely not taught within their CFP curriculum, but it's also not taught as much. So by taking time out today on this Tuesday to learn the skills and language will put you ahead in terms of your success when it comes to centers of influence. Also, it's and here's an important one, especially for those of you on this call. It's going to enable you to diversify your client base. So what do I mean by that? Now, on a call like this, my guess is there are you've developed clients that potentially look like you or can definitely relate to you, or perhaps you fit in best with. And I know if you're looking at me now, if I'm looking at, let's call it the wealth gap in America, and if I'm a financial advisor and my clients look mostly like me in suburbs, in rural areas, or even in some cases the city, my client base is at a much lower income and much lower has a much lower net worth than other cultures here in America. So by partnering with CPAs and attorneys, you diversify your client base. Okay. Now, what I mean by that is when you have a CPA, that especially one that may not necessarily look like you, and I'm going to get into a quick story here in a minute about that, but that CPA, the words that they hold are so valuable to their clients that when they say, go talk to Delvin Joyce, or they go talk to this financial advisor, to you, that client is open and ready to hear them, right? So regardless of socioeconomic background they're from. So by developing this whole CPA attorney network, really in the right way, it will really enable you to diversify your client base. I don't know if that's of interest to anyone on the call today, but having a diverse client base in many cases will absolutely have a much positive, a stronger impact on your business. And then lastly, and this is kind of in line with the whole motto, if you will, or the mission of NAIFA and the whole diversity cause. And I believe strongly in this as well, is providing the best advice for all communities, right? And I'll get into my story here in a minute, but the reality is there's a certain level of advice, and it's really based on information that people have, and that kind of determines their outcome, their financial outcome. Right. So we're all educated in the financial services industry, and you have a certain level of knowledge about what you do. But what I would say is, if you add the knowledge of 10, 20 million, multi-million-dollar business owner CPAs, right, that service that crowd, right, or estate attorneys that deal with a much higher net worth of client. When you partner with them and they become part of your team, and as you get to know them and listen to them on calls with your clients, your knowledge expands, and what you can now provide to your clients is at a higher level. And this is the whole theme of this whole talk about elevating your business. We're talking about elevating your mindset too, but having these partnerships with CPAs and attorneys will absolutely enable you to provide the best financial advice for all communities, the ones that you're dealing with, the ones that your counterparts are dealing with. And they deserve that, absolutely. On the flip side, what if you don't? So if you don't ever learn how to partner with CPAs or partner with attorneys, or take time out to do that, I would suggest that prospecting will still be challenging, especially when we're thinking about prospecting CPAs. When your firm tells you to go out there and meet more CPAs and attorneys, my guess is it would still be challenging. You won't actually develop those skills or the language. Your client base could potentially stay less diverse, right? Assuming you have a lack of diversity within your clients right now. And then I would say that, if you don't ever take time out, and I applaud you today because you're doing that, but for advisors that don't learn this skill, this area of practice management, they'll never reach that level of financial advice, simply because of a lack of information. And I added one more here for you, it's related to competition. Now, I think with technology and prospecting, the way financial advisors are going about attracting clients, and specifically your clients, it's much easier to do that with them sitting all over the country. Clients are looking for more value. They're looking for more reasons for them to continue to use your services, to find your services, and continue your relationship. The ones that they give financial advice, or they get financial advice from, they're looking for more value from you. right? And by simply offering connections and partnerships with centers of influence and offering some of that information, you're by default adding value to them. All right, so just wanted to share that with you. Now here's a quick story from one of my mentors, a guy named Billy Epperhart. He played college baseball quite a while ago, let's say decades ago, but very good in Texas. He went to the college level, and he was a pitcher, not a big guy, but he was a pitcher. And when he started in his first couple of games, he got a chance to pitch, and he in his first game he was throwing his best fastballs. First batter hits it right up the middle, hard right up the middle. Second batter hits it right up right deep in left field. Third batter gets on base, and he's just thinking, throw harder, throw harder, throw harder. And literally has bases loaded. The next batter that comes up, he throws his best fastball, and the batter hits it 410 feet right over the center field line. Right, home run, grand slam. His first game. His pitching coach comes out on the mound and says, "Billy, show me your slider." And he puts his hand out there, and he puts his hand, he's holding the ball, and he literally turns the ball 1/8 of an inch. So his finger is 1/8 of an inch. And he says, "Throw it that way." I kid you not, literally the next three batters he struck out. He struck them all out. And I say, why do I say that? I say that to say he was only 1/8 of an inch away from having success in baseball, in pitching at this level. For many of you listening to me right now, you're professional, you're educated, you dress well, you have great rapport with clients. You are fantastic in what you do. You may only be just a 1/8 of an inch away from developing a 12, 14, 15 person network, center of influence network, where you get an additional 10, 15, $20 million of new assets every single year by having a network of CPAs. Many of you on this call are so close to that. All right, so just like you said, show me your slider, we're going to look at what are we actually doing, because it might just be one simple change. All right. Now, the next story I want to share with you, and this is actually something that happened a long time ago when I'm 8 years old. And my dad takes us to North Carolina, here where I live now, and I'm growing up in New Jersey. And my dad and my sister are in the car. And my dad is in real estate. He loved to take us out to these developments and these new housing areas, these new vacation places. He just loved doing that. Loved looking at houses. And I remember one time he took us out to the beach area in near Kitty Hawk in Duck Corolla. Some of you may have vacationed out here. And he takes me to a pool, kind of looks just like this. He takes me to like a resort, and this is like the resort pool. Now I want you to imagine this picture filled up with a bunch of, but probably, in my opinion, about 100 or so people in the pool and around the pool. But here's the catch: none of them looked like me. None of them looked like me. So my dad says, "Let's go check out the pool." Because he's excited. My sister's ready to go. Let's get out the car. Let's go have fun. Let's go see what's going on here. A bunch of people having a good time. Here's what 8-year-old Chris Jordan says. "I don't want to go." Now, why didn't I want to go? Well, you know what? Because I didn't feel comfortable in that environment. I didn't feel like I belonged in that environment. Right, and in addition to that, because of the color of my skin, and kind of where I was from, and kind of the programming that was in my brain as an 8-year-old individual, 8-year-old boy, I felt inferior. I felt like I couldn't relate. I felt I didn't want to even get out of the pool. Look at this nice pool. I didn't want to experience all the fun that was available to me, but because I didn't feel like I belonged. Right, and and this goes into going to Georgetown University. I felt the same thing. Coming from a very diverse, middle class background in New Jersey, going to Georgetown University, I was the only one of the few that looked like me on campus, and again, culture shock, major culture shock. Right, started my career at companies like AXA and BlackRock and Citigroup, and going to national sales meetings, and I was the only one in the room. And I say that to say, I know what it's like to feel maybe an imposter syndrome in a sense, or feel like I don't really belong. I know what that's like. I know what it's like to feel like maybe you're not qualified. Maybe some of you listen to me right now don't necessarily feel you're qualified to speak to a certain level of client. Right, that $20 million, $100 million athlete, right, or deal with that big time CPA in your town. Maybe you don't feel qualified. But I know what it's like to feel like you don't relate, to be educated, be talented in sports, or love to have fun in the pool, know how to swim, but at the same time to let that fear hold me back from actually getting in the pool and actually experiencing everything that life had for me. So if that's you, I want to encourage you to get rid of that thinking today. It's a lie. It's an absolute lie. And for me, the more I meditated on that, the more I continued to think about that, the more it became more and more real, and I had to overcome that today. But over time. But today, we're going to alleviate that. So if that's you, we're going to get rid of that mindset. I just want to give you a little bit of my background. As in working in some of these major companies, I was always on the wholesale side, and we had I worked with in Manhattan and worked with 12,000 Smith Barney brokers. Worked with AXA, worked with financial advisors in Texas and California, Hawaii, Long Island, all over the country. Bank channel, insurance channel, RA channel. Worked at private equity, hedge funds. And in that 18 years of working as a wholesaler, I saw a wide range of advisor experience, and what I found was that the top advisors, they partnered with COIs and they did it really well. Now I also saw that most of them had a negative experience. Well, what I mean by that, most of them told me, Chris, it doesn't work. It's so difficult. I know so many attorneys or CPAs, but I've never gotten any referrals. Like this was the experience that I heard 9 times out of 10. In fact, and here's another one for you. That was even amongst the majority of the financial advisors in the industry, right? Rarely did I meet a financial advisor that, let's say, was female or a person of color, that told me that they were successful in this area, right? So this is something that I saw, that there was a desire to do it. There's a desire to meet with these professionals and have them as a part of get referrals from CPAs, for example, but most of them just didn't have that experience. The ones that I saw, again, this is my experience, the ones that I saw that were successful in this area, they looked a certain way. Here we go again, right? They looked a certain way, and we'll leave it at that. But they were some of the best financial advisors. They always partnered well with COIs. But I realized that, so I said to myself, as I add value to financial advisors, if I could just take what the best know, if I could take some of that information that they know and share it with the rest of the 9 out of 10 advisors that I have, well, I could actually provide value in my job and be more valuable as a wholesaler, right? And then, and then shortly after that, we said, as we launched this company, CLJ Advisory, we said that, look, this topic could absolutely elevate the industry. And you know what? That's what we're seeing happen right now with some of our trainings across the U.S. and Canada. We're seeing minds change. We're seeing people get referrals. People that I didn't normally see get referrals, they're now getting referrals. But we said if we could just take what the best know, we could actually elevate the industry. And that's kind of the purpose of this call. And what we did was we said, look, if we just interview attorneys, if we interview CPAs, if we interview some of the best advisors that partner well and get consistent referrals from CPAs and attorneys, well, and just give that and package that and give that to the financial advice committee, we could really make a difference, right? So that's just some of our background right there. All right. So with that said, it's kind of I want to ask this question for you. What has been your main obstacle in meeting with COIs or meeting with more COIs? I'll take a pause and kind of let you answer that question.
You guys can use the chat feature to respond to Chris.
Yeah, love to hear that. No rush, no pressure, but just kind of love to hear what has been. What do you feel is holding you back from meeting with more CPAs, more centers of influence? All right. Well, I'll tell you, when we ask this question to many advisors around the country, Canada, the first one that we tend to hear is lack of knowledge, right? They don't have the knowledge to how do I go about approaching them? What do I say? Right? What are some of the things that I do? Right? So it becomes from a lack of knowledge. Also, we hear limited time. They don't have the time to develop the process to put that in place and to actually go out there and do their networking with the CPAs and attorneys. They have no process, right? We also hear that because I just don't have a process in place. In fact, one of the best, a very strong LPL advisor told me that who's very successful in this area. He told me that Chris, if I had to do it over again, I would have actually have implemented a process in my business as it relates to meeting with more COIs. And I do it naturally now, but I would have had a process. We hear that that's an obstacle that inhibits them from meeting with more COIs. And then lastly, past experiences. Right, and feel free to just say 1, 2, 3, or 4. Right, if this is you, 1, 2, 3, or 4, the past experiences, meaning you've tried it once, you tried it twice, it didn't work. A CPA hung up on you. They told you they didn't want to meet you, and that was 5 years ago, and you've never tried it again. Right, you'll feel free to to share that as well. 1, 2, 3, or 4. But these are some of the main reasons that I see financial advisors hold back, or what they tell me is their main obstacle for meeting with more COIs. So today we're gonna basically talk about a few things today, and what I'm going to give you today is really from one of our trainings, the fundamentals of COI partnerships. So if you go to our website, you'll probably see this training as well, some of this content. But here's what you're going to get today, right? You're going to get an understanding of the dynamics of the COI relationship. We're going to talk about how we establish that right partnership. We're going to talk about becoming the select advisor, the one that actually gets referrals, and then we're going to talk briefly about that the most effective approach, right? How do you approach? That's a question we hear a lot. How do we approach? And then once you actually know a CPA or attorney, once you have met them, how do you actually further that relationship? Is that fair? And feel free to put in the chat also if there's anything else, any questions that you perhaps want to have answered on this topic. We can answer this kind of as we go through. All right, so the first off, let's talk about why create COI partnerships. I'm going to give you 7 reasons. I'm just listing them out here. We'll go into each one in somewhat detail. But we're going to talk about why create COI partnerships. Well, it's very, and the reason why we do this first is because I really believe that if more financial advisors understood why they should create partnership, they would take the time, learn how to do it, and then actually succeed in this area of practice management. Hands down, from what we've seen from advisors that do this and their success level, and compare that to many that do not. If the ones that wanted a higher level of success in their career, if they just simply knew what some of these advisors did and how it benefited their business, I think they would absolutely be strong in this area, right? So the first reason, it's the best way to attract high net worth clients. Right. So we did a study and we found that the average net worth, the average referral from a CPA that has $500,000 to $1 million of investable assets, meaning a financial advisor, they get that referral from that CPA. And typically that client has $500,750,000 of assets they can invest. Now, I'm going to ask this question here, and I'd love to hear your response. For a client that comes to you with $500,000 or $1 million of, let's say, investable assets, how much would that be worth to you in your business, whether it's financial planning fees or maybe assets under management or a commission-based product? I just kind of love to hear some of your responses. How much would a new client with $500,000 to $1 million of investable assets be worth to you? Love to hear your response in the chat. I'll call out Delvin Joyce, by the way. If Delvin, you want to share that, feel free. But typically we see anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 a year is typically what we see. I'm seeing 5,000 from Greg or more annually, anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 a year from one client. Now, I want you to imagine a network of CPAs of 12 or 13 or 14 that give you one referral a year, right? They give you one referral a year, all right? 12, 15 new clients. I want you to do the math. Okay, so absolutely, this is the best way to attract high net worth clients. Reason number two, traditional methods are less effective. Cold calling has become harder and harder, less effective. We saw your typical networking events, although we're starting to pick up. A lot of states are more back in person with things, but networking really came to a halt last year during COVID. So traditional methods have become less effective. Okay, the third reason I'd say has to do with leverage. Each CPA or attorney that you meet has the potential to make dozens of introductions to you, right? So I want you to think one partnership with CPA could potentially be 10, 20, 50 new introductions. I want you to think about it from terms of leverage in your time. Right? You take time to develop one relationship with one CPA, that person now can truly be the center of influence. You can leverage that, and they can give you dozens, if not over 100 in a career, right? But then also you're going to have greater access to the affluent sphere of influence, right? So what I mean by that is that typically CPAs, estate attorneys in particular, they have access to and they're servicing a higher echelon of clients. One of the challenges that I hear quite often from financial advice professionals is I want to find more clients with more wealth, right? That I can do more things with, right? If I got you kind of have in your heart, you don't want to take on everyone, but you kind of want to start to put limits on what some of your clients have, the clients that you work with, because or thresholds, if you will, because you want to start to work with higher net worth, higher income professionals. Well, these folks are going to give you greater access to that sphere of influence. The fourth reason is that you're going to get better service to your clients, right? So I want you to think partnership, teamwork, CPAs, attorneys, you're partnering with them. This is going to inspire better strategies. I want you to think of you being in your office or in a CPA's office with you, the CPA, and your client at the same time. I want you to think about that teamwork that just kind of starts to develop, right? Think about the ideas that you bring to the table, the ideas that CPA brings to the table. Marry those two, and all of a sudden, you've got different ideas. You've got new ideas, elevated ideas that are even much better than what you came into that meeting with. All right, so it's going to inspire better strategy. But I think as you develop this teamwork and this partnership for your clients, it's going to show concern about your client's total financial picture. Why is that? I'm in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. I'm talking to a financial advisor. She says that her grandmother worked with an insurance salesman years ago, and it's a bad experience. But I told her this. I said, look, what we want to do here is we want to learn how, as we partner with these centers of influence, it's showing your clients, and you're telling your clients, look, I'm concerned about your total financial picture. And you know what she said to me? She said, if my grandmother heard that 10 or 20 years ago, it would have brought tears to her eyes, because that's exactly what she was looking for. She's looking for someone that would sit across from her and tell her that I'm concerned about your total financial picture. Not just say that, but you now have an opportunity to show. You can actually show that concern by partnering with their CPA, with their attorney. The fifth reason, you're going to increase your referral potential. Now, compliance many times will only allow a CPA to give a client when they need advice, when they need your advice. They'll typically give 2 or 3 or 4 options for that client to go seek out and learn about, right? So unfortunately, they won't just give you as a suggestion. We want to increase our potential by having a network of CPAs where we can be part of that list, right? They have limited opportunities to give referrals within a year. So by developing that network of, again, 10, 15, 20 centers of influence that are trusted partners, you're increasing your opportunities to get some of these higher net worth referrals. And then number 6, more credibility. Clients want to be introduced via a trusted source, right? That CPA is a trusted source, right? And if that CPA introduces you, well, automatically when that client comes to meet you, you automatically have more credibility, right? The ideas that you present, if you're partnering with the CPA as you present the idea, or if you're partnering with that estate attorney, for example, as you're presenting your strategy, your ideas are more likely to succeed. Now, what do I mean by that? Many times, or oftentimes, I hear financial advice professionals, they meet with a client and they present their strategy. Here's what we can do for you. They present, giving the client a proposal, and the client they never hear back from the client. If that's happened to you, I want you to just respond in the chat. If you met a client, with a client, a potential client, a prospect, gave them your suggestion, and they said, "Great, nice to meet you," and let's say you've never met them before, I'd love to kind of hear your. If that's happened to you, let me know. Okay, maybe it didn't happen to anyone on this call, but anyway, not a big deal. But a lot of times when those ideas don't go across, it's because the clients or that prospect talks to their CPA or their attorney, and they say they don't understand that idea, and they say, no, it's not a good idea. No, they shouldn't. They shouldn't go with it. Right? They don't agree with it. Imagine what if you could actually partner with that CPA, almost allow that CPA to present your idea, your strategy for you. Think about how much more success your ideas would have, right? So reason number 6, you'll have much more credibility. and your ideas will have are more likely to succeed. And then the last reason, it's going to increase your production. More clients with higher net worth, more production. And oftentimes, if you know your client's CPA, you know their attorney, many times when they meet with them, if that CPA or attorney has met you, they know you, oftentimes they'll encourage their client to come back to you for additional service, additional products, strategies that you have. All right, so those are some of the reasons. We're going to get into some of the barriers now of the relationship. Hopefully, everybody doing okay. The first barrier, the reason why, the thing that you have to overcome when it comes to centers of influence is there's a high risk that's involved, right? If that CPA sends them a client to you and you give them the wrong advice, well, that could potentially damage that relationship. I saw it happen here in Wake Forest, North Carolina. CPA gave a financial advisor, for the first time they tried it, they gave a referral to a financial advisor, one of her best clients, and ended up losing her best client because of the advice that financial advice professional gave that business owner. Her best relationship was lost. So there's high risk there, and they realize that. It's perceived as you try to go out there and meet with them. And the reason why is because there's low professional trust. There's a low level of professional trust that exists when it comes to your ability, as a professional, your success, how well you conduct yourself. So we want to develop professional trust, not the fact that they just know you and that you went to college with them, but you actually have professional trust with them. And then lastly, they absolutely hate salespeople. Now, let me phrase that or elaborate on that a bit. The CPA, they have many of them are not by default good marketers, not good sales folks, but they have many of the ones that we've met and we've interviewed, we talked to, they have this aversion to selling to their client. So when you come along and you say, I want to partner with you, and you give them your best idea, or you stop by their office, they're on guard because they get so many phone calls from financial advisors every week looking to partner with them. They're on guard for the salesperson. They want to know more about what value do you bring instead of the products that you sell. But there's a salesperson stigma that exists that can be a barrier for you to establish some of these relationships. Let's talk about establishing the right partnership. Well, how do you actually do that, right? We're going to talk about identifying the right COI, right? Especially when it comes to CPAs, for example. The question you ask, how do you find the right COI to partner with? I would say, first off, are they open? Is this are they transactional or are they a planner? The CPAs that we want to focus on are more planner, should be more planner in nature, meaning they're concerned with the last year tax returns, but then also are forward thinking about the future for that, and they're planning that business owner's tax plan for the future. That's the type of CPA or even a state attorney that's obviously more inclined to meet with you. They're open and they're more of a planner. The other dynamic is this whole concept. I want to change the way you think about the whole reciprocal relationship. How many have you done this? Or maybe you've heard this, other advisors, not you, but other advisors. I've given 10 referrals, I've given 20 referrals, but I've only gotten one in return. I've gotten none in return. Well, I want to say, so that's like the whole reciprocal relationship. I want you to remove that from your mind today. That whole dynamic just doesn't exist. It doesn't exist in the brain of the CPA. They just don't think like that, right? That's the reciprocal relationship. The other dynamic is revenue sharing. Now, many of the firms that you work at have a phenomenal revenue sharing platform. And oftentimes I see advice professionals lead with how much they can benefit the CPA with income and revenue by having them affiliate with that program. So that's a revenue share type model. Now that can work, but if I could suggest something, don't lead with that. look to become the select advisor. Be the advisor that they choose you because you've developed trust with them, you've developed the relationship with them, they know how professional you are, and they select you as one of 3 for them to share with their clients. That's what I would encourage you to do. So let's talk about that select advisor. The select advisor, the one that gets referrals from CPAs and attorneys, there's several characteristics that they typically have. And I've literally seen this in person. We've seen this in studies and when we interviewed advisors. But I say the first one is relatability. They can relate not only to their clients well, which I'm sure all of you can, but they also can relate to that CPA, that attorney. They understand they can speak to that CPA on a personal level, but also on a professional level. They know a little bit about what the CPA is going through, so they can relate to that CPA. They're very client focused, meaning when they first approach that center of influence, they're talking about how can we benefit our clients. That's what CPAs and attorneys, estate attorneys, they want to hear from you, that you're client focused, and you are. It's just a matter of communicating that to them. Effectively listening, that's a big key. How well do you listen? When you have an opportunity to meet with that CPA, how well do you listen to what they need? Because that's going to actually affect what you deliver them later. And I'll get into that here before we wrap up here shortly. But they communicate their value, right? I want to show you another friend of ours, a client, Mike Guthrie. He's with Northwestern Mutual in the Boston area, and he was working with an estate attorney, and they always talked about giving referrals and sharing clients, and he gave them some clients, but she just never gave them any in return. After he learned about communicating his value, communicating his process, he literally met with the attorney, walked her through his process, communicated his value, and then really within a week got his first referral from a state attorney. The select advisor communicates their value. So ask yourself, how many CPAs know how valuable you are? How many of them understand your process? What do you do with clients when you meet them in their onboarding process, right? So this is part of the value that you want to communicate. And they have a high level of professional knowledge. I mean, they know their stuff, and they understand the world of that CPA or attorney. Now, the effective approach, right? So many of you are asking, all right, well, how do I approach a CPA? And this is probably the most important slide. We're going to probably, for time's sake, we're going to run through it quick, but many financial advice professionals say, Chris, how do I reach out to CPAs on LinkedIn? And the mindset here is to default to the cold approach. I'm going to give you the most effective approach. I'm not saying that the cold approach can't work. Many financial advisors default to that, and they still want to go that route. I'm going to give you the effective approach, and that's to leverage the mutual client. Look at the clients that you have. Ask yourself, how many of them do I actually, how many of my clients CPAs, attorneys do I know, have I met with? Some of you may work with 200 or 300 clients or more. How many of those clients have you met their CPA? Do they know your process? After you leverage that client, talk to them, prepare them. You let them know your intentions. Let them know that you want to serve them better, give them better advice to make sure that their full financial picture is taken care of. Prepare them, and then perhaps you may have them simply sign something that says, look, I agree to allow you to speak to my CPA. And you're going to do that because when you reach out to that CPA and you say, look, I want to talk to you, because we have a mutual client, that CPA asks you, well, did they give you permission? You say yes, and you simply email it to them, and now all of a sudden you look more professional and you can save time and you keep it rolling. When you, after you do that, set up that joint meeting, ideally, again, this is the most effective approach. If you can go for any approach here, go for the approach where you can join in a meeting with your client, and the next time they meet with their CPA or their attorney, if you can join in that meeting, your client can absolutely invite you or tell that CPA that they want you to be part of it. And then when you get in that meeting, be prepared to ask good questions. If it's a joint meeting, or let's say it's just you and that CPA because the client has set up the introduction for you, be prepared to ask good questions. Learn about them, learn about their business. Right? But also, this is where you communicate your value. This is the approach. A lot of our resource that we have on our website, SalesJ Advisory, kind of go into more detail about it. Our trainings do, of course. But this is essentially, in a nutshell, the most effective approach for you to partner, to have more success in partnering with CPAs and attorneys. Now, once you've actually partnered or made that introduction, right? So now you know the CPA, now you know the attorney. Communicate consistently, whether it's twice a year, once a quarter, 5-6 times a year. Have a consistent communication where you're giving them something of value, providing relevant information. You're being a resource. So the mindset here, and we're changing again. We're not thinking prospecting, we're thinking partnership. How can I be a resource to this CPA? Every communication, can I give them a 1099? Can I give them some information? Can I give this estate attorney information about the change, a death in the family? Can I share what information can be of most value to this center of influence? And then you can help them market their business, obviously doing seminars, joint events, but also share your specialty. Many times a CPA, for example, they know vaguely what you do, but they don't know all that you do. Maybe you specialize in administering qualified plans also. Maybe that's something else you do in addition to financial plan, right? Or the services that you do in your general business. But share that with them. The more they know about what you specialize in, the more value you're giving to them. And because the more information, the more they know the value that you bring to the relationship. And now all of a sudden, guess what? They can feel more confident sharing new clients with you because they know what you do. So those are just some dynamics about about how you develop this relationship. So today, just kind of recap as we wind down. We talked about having an understanding of the dynamics of the COI, which is relationship, which is so important to understand the benefits and the barriers, so you don't lose energy as you go out there to try to develop these relationships. We talked about how to establish the right partnership. We talked about becoming that select advisor, and then I gave you briefly an effective approach, leveraging the mutual client and kind of some things to do as you leverage that client. And then once you make that initial introduction, how do you further that relationship? Because what all this does here, as you further that relationship, you increase the professional trust that they have in you. And as they have more professional trust in you, the risk reduces and you become more open to receiving referrals. All right, so what do I do next? Here's some next steps. I say what you can do is go to saljadvisory.com, download the 12 keys to developing COI partnerships. You'll have some more information there, but then also the 4 steps to COI referrals. You can feel free to do that right now. I don't mind. But saljadvisory.com, go there and download both of those resources for free. Connect on LinkedIn. Feel free to share a screenshot and mention this training. But I believe that once you have more of this information in your belt, in your tool belt, you'll be able to go out there and have more confidence and tackle these some of these relationships. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the share for a moment. But what I would say here, kind of as we wind up, I want to give you all a quote from a very famous author, a very famous book, I should say. It says that as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. And I'll say that as you think about these COI partnerships, as you think about your business, if you can elevate your thinking, think differently about these COI partnerships, think differently about yourself. As you elevate your thinking, you absolutely can elevate your business. All right, so with that, I just want to wish you all well, and we'll open up for questions. I'll turn it back to Emily, but pleasure speaking with you today. Feel free to email me directly or connect with me on LinkedIn to answer any questions, but a pleasure to speak to you all today.
Thank you so much, Chris. I appreciate all the information and insights. So if anybody has any questions for Chris, we do still have a couple of minutes left. So feel free to either raise your hand and I can unmute you, or use the Q&A or the chat feature. Give people a second to type anything that they may have in mind. I think sometimes when we do this, we don't give people enough time, because it always seems like as soon as we move on to something else, then all of a sudden the answers come in. So we'll give them a second. Okay, Chris, contact info. I'm gonna pull that up. Then we got a great presentation, truly helpful information. Thank you, from Greg. Delvin says, while you're pulling up your contact information, Chris, how many COIs should you have?
Okay, good question, Delvin. So I would say, I'm in Apex, North Carolina, talking to an RA who built a $400 million business at the time, and I said, "How did you grow your business?" And he said, "Chris, we just had I had about 14 CPAs that I developed relationships with, and that was the main catalyst for the growth of our business." So I would say, start with one, get proficient in taking that first step and learn this whole process of meeting one, then two, but look to develop. I would encourage everyone on this call to develop a network of at least a dozen, if not 20 CPAs and estate attorneys, in addition to, your real estate, your mortgage brokers, your other centers of influence. The CPA, if you can have 12 CPA partners, that could absolutely elevate, change the outlook of anyone's business, quite frankly.
Has anyone ever told you that you look like Delvin Joyce? Absolutely.
Yeah, every time I go to Charlotte, somebody's pulling me over asking me, "Did I play football for the Giants?"
Chris, do you want to put your contact information in the chat so that anybody can get that? It will be when it will be on the slides too, that we'll share the recording, but there you go. Thank you, Chris.
Yeah, feel free. Again, LinkedIn, I'm there. Chris at cljadvisory.com. Again, I encourage you to. We kind of ran through a lot of stuff today. This could be a very it's a very big topic. There's a lot of information, but you can get a lot of free content on our website, especially with that 12 keys and that 4 steps presentation.
Awesome. Well, Chris, thank you so much. Our participants, thank you for participating. And Delvin, thank you for recommending Chris. So thanks to everyone all around. Like I said, this will be available on demand. So look for that email coming to your mailbox soon. And we will see you on our next webinar. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Emily. Thanks a lot, Delvin. We'll see y'all. Have a great day, folks.